No, 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 no. They didn't do that. They did not do it. I I am at a loss for words right now. Sony revealed the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I wasn't like expecting to be blown away by this thing. I knew it was just going to be a more powerful PlayStation 5, just like the PS4 Pro was for the original PS4. And you know, they went over stuff like I mean, from the beginning it was kind of funny because Mark Cerny talked about how he said, before we talk about the PS5 Pro, I just want to talk about how amazing the original PS5 was and how it brought so much to the table. It was such a powerful system. It was very impressive, except there were no motherfucking games for it, and nobody can even get one for the first couple of years. So, you know, even like in 2020, it was an impressive console, but very few people were even able to enjoy it, and there weren't really much games for it to begin with, so that potential was completely squandered there. And to just emphasize how underwhelming this generation has been, it's really like so unprecedented. And this isn't to say that Microsoft is doing so much better, by the way, but it's just like to point out how fucking horrid this generation was. Will probably go down as the worst in all of gaming history. So here's a list of all of the games. All of the games over the past 4 years that have been published by Sony for the PlayStation 5 and was exclusive to this generation. And of course, you know, the games were also released on PC for the most part, so an actual PlayStation exclusive doesn't even exist anymore. If the game's on PC, it's by definition multi-platform. But that's, you know, a different conversation. But here's just Sony published games that were on the PlayStation 5 and were not on the PlayStation 4. We got the Demon's Souls remake, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Returnal. People wanted to return that game pretty quickly, because that fucking sucked. And then it's just Spider-Man 2, Helldivers 2, Astrobot, Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Blade, and of course, everyone's favorite game, Conquered. It was so great that Sony decided they had to shut the game down after 2 weeks because it was such an amazing game that nobody wanted to play it because it would ruin their experience playing any other game out there. So, you know, so Sony's like, okay, we gotta pull this because we created something so fucking awesome that the people just aren't ready for it yet. So, you know, it happens. But, yeah, so I just named 9 games. Actually, 10 if you want to also include the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, 10 first-party games. Well, it's actually still 9 because one of them is literally unplayable and was essentially unreleased. So, 9 games in 4 years. 9 games for this generation that was not available on the previous, because I left out a bunch of games that, you know, people remember from this generation, like Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, but they were also PlayStation 4 games, so they don't really count, because they were released on the previous gen. So that's all you had, and the vast majority of them were also released on PC. At least I think half of them were. A good amount of them were, like Helldivers 2 and Conquered and Ratchet & Clank. And even the ones that haven't yet, like Spider-Man 2, you know they're going to get there eventually. So they're not even actually exclusive. But so that's what we're working with. The most underwhelming PlayStation by far. And nobody, like, with a straight face can dispute that. Like, that is just fucking horrible. Even the PlayStation 3, which struggled for the first few years, had a lot more to offer than the PS5 currently does. So it's just a joke that he started off the presentation talking about how amazing and how he literally said the PlayStation 5 brought so much to the table. Like, what the fuck did it bring? Not much, actually. So then they get to the PlayStation 5 Pro, and he talks about 3 things that make the PS5 Pro so much better and worth getting over the original PS5. There's the GPU being 45% faster, and how much better the GPU is. Ray tracing being, he said double or triple the speed by, you know, how it calculates rays, and, you know, it's great. Okay, ray tracing's better. And then AI upscaling, which provides sharper details. So, and then basically the entire selling point was how the original PS5 has the choice between performance mode and fidelity mode. Performance mode, you'll run the game consistently at 60 FPS, but you will suffer by having a lower resolution, while, you know, obviously fidelity mode gives you 30 FPS with a much higher resolution. The PS5 Pro is supposed to pretty much eliminate that choice, right? You don't have to worry about having to make that compromise between frame rate and fidelity. So that was pretty much the entire thing about that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because, with that's how it is right now with consoles, is that they're trying to appeal to a more hardcore audience that cares a lot about power. I mean, to be fair, the PS4 Pro did sell very well and it was successful. So, of course, they're going to do a PS5 Pro. Here is where it gets, this is why I was laughing at the beginning, because I literally hit the record button right after the end where they revealed the price, and I was getting 2006 Kaz-Hirai flashbacks, PTSD flashbacks from E3 that year. If you were there back then, when he presented the PlayStation 3 and he's like, $599 and everyone just fucking froze because the PS3, it felt like Sony already lost the generation just with that one word, $599. Obviously, okay, so let's just talk about the price. $700. It is $700, which isn't even the worst part about this. $700 on its own is fucking horrible for what they're offering. But the other part of it is that it doesn't have a disc drive. There's no disc drive that comes with the console. So you had the original console from 4 years ago that was $500 with a disc drive included. Now, 4 years later, you have the new console, which, by the way, is longer. We're only 2 to 3 years away from the PlayStation 6. Probably 3 years, not 2. But it's usually every 6 to 7 years that we get a new console in a generation. So we're not even that far away from the next generation system. I hope that, imagine if that's an indicator of what they're actually going to try to price the PlayStation 6 at. So that's another thing to think about, is that you're not really going to get much longevity out of this, because the next gen console, well, you will get longevity, let's face it. Call of Duty is still coming out on the PlayStation 4, guys. There's still a lot of games coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, so maybe you will get some longevity out of it. That's the whole problem with this generation, is that the old generation just won't fucking die. But I could not fucking believe it. 500, maybe 550 was the only reasonable price that this thing could have been charged. And especially with no disc drive. What the fuck? Who in their right mind is going to pay for this? Especially if you have a physical collection of games on the PS5. Those games you just can't fucking play, I guess. Maybe they'll sell an extension, an add-on, that you can pay for another fucking $100. Oh boy. If you're such, so obsessed with, having upgraded graphics and all that, and just having a little bit of a better experience, and just the slightly better details and all that, if that's something you care about so much, then you should not be on console. You should be on PC. This feels like something that's catered towards PC gamers, especially with the price point and all that shit. It's I don't know who this is for. Only the most hardcore PlayStation fanboy would this be for. I mean, Microsoft is re-releasing the Series X without a disc drive as well, but there's no technical upgrade. And it's 2 terabytes, and they're charging $600 for it. So, let's be, they're both just fucking horrible. Sony and Microsoft are both horrible. I would say, honestly, about equally horrible at this point. I don't really have a favorite. I mean, obviously, I'm just playing on my PC. Still confused why people even bother with consoles anymore, but if we're talking about price and affordability, that's what most of the console gamers talk about. Well, this, what are you going to say about this? Because it is not affordable, and it's just a fucking joke. It's pathetic. Another reason why I laughed so hard at the beginning, and it was a genuine laugh. It wasn't a manufactured, I'm gonna, try to sound like a troll for YouTube. No, that was a legit, I was just fucking breaking down laughing. I hit the record button and immediately reacted to what I just saw. The $700 price tag, no disc drive, and then seeing the faces of the IGN reporters, because I saw the IGN version of the stream, and the look on their face says it all. Look at this shit. Just look at their raw reaction to what they just saw. It's just like, there's no fucking words to describe this shit. What the fuck is Sony thinking? There's no way this doesn't end up as one of the biggest failures in gaming history. Hey, might as well keep the momentum going with it, after Concord. You might as well keep that going. Just fail after fail after fail. Why not at this point? It's not like Microsoft is making any more rational decisions. It's not like they're, like, really bringing it to Sony and actually making Sony, like, actually be like, oh shit, we gotta actually compete. Like, Microsoft is equally, maybe slightly more of a joke. I don't know. Like, it's pretty close, honestly. I mean, the sales of the PS5 just fucking blew the Series X and Series S out of the water. So that's why Sony's like, we just do whatever the fuck they want. It's like when they got cocky originally during the PS3 because of how well the PS2 did. This is literally what's happening right now. They don't have to put any games out there. They don't have to have, like, reasonable price for this shit because they're PlayStation. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Well, we'll see how that goes. I really don't think this is gonna be successful for them. I just don't see it.